introduction and then we jump on. Yeah, is that okay? So I switch into German and you need the gift of interpretation right now to understand what I'm saying. Ja, also Freunde, herzlich willkommen zu einer weiteren Episode von Let's Grab a Coffee. Wir freuen uns total, weiter voneinander zu lernen. Das Herz der nächsten 20, 30 Minuten ist es einfach, Erfahrungen auszutauschen, ins Gespräch zu kommen über das, was wir gerade erleben. Super spannende Zeiten für die Kirche, nicht nur in Deutschland, sondern auch global. Und wir freuen uns total, dass Pastor Matt heute mit am Start ist. Er ist Pastor von The Father's House in Orange County mit seiner Frau Bianca zusammen. Wir sind schon viele Jahre befreundet mit Renke und Matt und haben schon einige Trips hinter uns und wollen einfach von ihm ein bisschen lernen, gucken, wie es in Amerika aussieht und wie die den Coronavirus als Kirche so überstehen oder durchstehen und was die gerade so lernen. Hammer, dass ihr alle mit am Start seid. Schreibt gerne Fragen in die Kommentare. Wir haben das in so einer Webinarform jetzt gemacht, damit wir ein bisschen interaktiver auch auf Fragen und Ideen eingehen können, die ihr vielleicht habt. Wir freuen uns mega auf die Zeit und wir switchen jetzt auf Englisch, übersetzen immer mal wieder ein bisschen was und hoffen einfach, dass es eine richtig coole Zeit wird zusammen. All right, this was our introduction. Thanks,
I have
Matt.
no idea what you said.
I just bragged about you, saying how amazing you are and your wife, Bianca, and that we had some good trips together in the past, and excited to hear what's happening in America right now.
It's a little bit crazy right now. I'm not sure. I've been following a little bit with what's happening in Germany, but everything's pretty much locked down here, especially on the West Coast. We're in Southern California, so it's pretty. California and New York are probably the top two places that's been really affected. So it's interesting to see. We've gone as a church, we've gone fully digital, and so we're trying to figure that out. I think we were somewhat positioned with some of our digital stuff we were doing to be ready, but I don't know that anybody was ready for what happened. So
yes,
but good to be with you guys, man. I miss you guys. I need to get in Germany. When this thing is over, we got to be in Germany somewhere.
Oh,
For sure.
definitely.
For
Definitely.
sure. So for people, they don't know you, tell us about, before we speak about the crisis and Corona, about your church. How old is your church? When did you start? How big is your church? So that we get a bit of, context.
Yeah, perfect. So Bianca and I, my wife and I, we launched our church. The city we're in is Anaheim, California. So right by Disneyland and all the sports arenas and all that kind of stuff. So we're right in the central part of Southern California, other than LA. And we launched in September 2018. And from scratch, we had a little bit of a launch team. I know, right? We had a little bit of a launch team. We had a little bit of some resources, and we weren't taking salaries and all that kind of stuff. And we really had a heart. The vision for the church was to go after, I think, you've got some great mega churches in this area, and we really wanted to go after the younger generation that's not in the church, and that was really intentional. And so they're not on the coast. You can't, most people can't afford to live on the coast, at least if you're a young person. And so we were going more towards the inner city part, and so it's been just a really fun experience. We are a year and a half, 2 years in, and so on a Sunday we probably get close to 700 people, which is fantastic. It was great. So it's been really fun to see that happen. Probably one of the unique things we did is from the beginning is we said, hey, we want to be a church that is always about developing young people. And so we started a school of leadership right out of the gate. And then we launched a second campus. If you've ever heard the song Hotel California, that is now a prison. If you've heard the song Hotel California by the Eagles.
California.
Yeah, there you go. You got it. You got it, man. And that's now a prison. And so we have a video. Well, our team goes there on Wednesday nights, but the message and the worship is in video. We have a video service inside a prison.
Amazing.
In Southern California, which is fantastic. So that's a little of the church. And so we're excited. Again, this thing was, I feel like most of us as a church, we were picking up a lot of momentum. Our church was growing, and we were expanding, and we were thinking about what we're going to do as we got bigger. And now all of a sudden, we're all locked in our houses and gone digital. So, and maybe there's more people reached in the process. Who knows?
Yes, well, the views that we've seen over the last few weeks, it's been more than we ever had in live when we did the gatherings. Well, I hope we do them again. It sounds like we're talking about something totally different now. But like one of the things I was talking to Renketu this week, and maybe you can talk into this, discipleship now becomes a bit of a challenge. And you just said, like, you're really passionate about raising young leaders, young people into becoming part of the church, into releasing them into their potential. So a question that we had, or just how are you switching now to a digital discipleship program? Is there anything that's kind of worked so far for you? It would be great to just hear what your thinking is on it.
Yeah, no, that's great. We're probably like you guys. We're trying stuff, and some things are working well, and some things are, we adjust and move along. And but we've kind of utilized the Zoom platform. I think that's been one of the things that's great for us. And so, for example, we had school leadership scheduled for tonight, 7 to 9 p.m. It's midday here in California. And so we'll do a Zoom school leadership. And so we'll have worship, we'll have, teaching, we'll have actually breaking them into discussion groups. And so we're trying to find ways. And what we're finding is there's two kinds of things. One is when you talk about discipleship, I think there's two things that are really important. I think content is an issue. So content is information, right? And so we live in an age right now where at least a lot of our people and probably similar people, is that they, there's content online everywhere. And so you can go to church 6 times on a Sunday if you want to, right? Or even midweek or every day of the week, you can do that. Yeah. So content's one thing. And then what we're finding is that discipleship also happens in connection and community. It's worked out with other people to process. And so we know there's great content. We know that there's a lot of people doing great content. So we've gone to, what does it look like to create, as best we can, conversations for people to start to work out what they're learning, what they're processing. And I think that's been more of the experimental side. And so we've done 2 things. All of our community groups are still happen. They all happen via Zoom. And then we launched something called Hangouts. And Hangouts was really just something that anybody could come. It's limited to 60 minutes. And so we get probably anywhere from 25 to 40 people per Hangout. And they're from we had somebody from Germany log on to the Hangout on Friday last week. So, people come on and we just kind of connect, checking in, how are people doing? And then we give them a little bit of encouragement spiritually. And then we get to talk about that as a group. And then we really pray together. And some people, what we're finding is they just want that connection. So they're hopping on 2 or 3 times throughout the week, which has been great. So that's what we're doing today. We even have a one from our youth group is happening as well. So they do a digital hangout and process, kind of the weekend message and those things. So that's the best we're at today.
Okay.
We're going to start doing next week. We're going to start doing our team rallies on digital. We do all of our team meetings on digital. So we'll kind of get our, heart for the house type thing together, and we'll do that digital. And so again, we're trying to figure out the best we can and how to do it. And I think the great thing is, prior to this, all of us would have been like, something via Zoom is a little bit awkward and a little bit hard to navigate. And now everybody's like, the only thing we got. So this is the best thing we got.
I know.
You got a little bit of margin for errors. So.
Cool. Even like praying and stuff feels initially a bit strange over like a digital link, but after you've done it once or twice, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the best thing you have today, and you're just going, hey, I've been alone all week, or but we've got prayer meetings happening through the week, but we're learning together, which is fun.
It's great. What are you doing for new Christians? So people, are we doing the church online from Greg Rochelle?
His platform, you mean?
Yeah.
We have not utilized his platform. So what happens for us is that there's a link on YouTube when you watch the service, and when you click that link, that takes you into our website, and then we have a team that connects with and walks with everybody that says yes to Jesus.
Okay.
So it is a digital experience. We had a couple people this week, a couple people last week that have said yes to Jesus, and so fun to walk with them as they're getting connected. And then the thing that we're probably transitioning to is, and this is probably the same with you guys, is I think a lot of us thought this was temporary, and it is temporary. And so we're like, oh, this will just be a week or two, and we have to figure out how to do online. What we're using this as a space for is, how do we actually launch a digital campus permanently?
Wow.
And so we've done some stuff with the Hangouts, which has been just a space. And we just said, hey, 2 or 3 weeks, let's just gather together. Let's have some questions. Let's connect. Let's pray for each other. What we're going to start doing is we're mapping out a plan to actually turn those digital Hangouts into community groups that meet from wherever they are around the world.
Wow.
And so then you're going to kind of keep moving those new people. And there's a team of people that for us, we found is that they connect with them via text. They'll reach out on phone calls. They'll email them. That's really how we're trying to stay connected with those people that come online in the season.
And so like these people that click on the link and they go to a different site, like what do you like? It's a bit difficult, isn't it? But like what are you leading them into? Like what's the next step then? So is there an online discipleship course then, or like a person that kind of tries to connect with them like face to face via Zoom or stuff like that?
That's correct. So there's a team that they get, once they say yes to Jesus, they get assigned to a team. We had a new believers team anyway that happened on Sunday. So anybody on Sunday that said yes to Jesus, they filled out a card, took it to the Welcome Center, and there was a team that had a system. And so they would call them, they would text them, they would say, hey, can we get together for coffee or, Facebook or something like that. And what we're finding now is that the same thing is happening. The same team is in place, but they're still doing the personal connection. So it's just not physically for coffee, but we found best that it's really that face-to-face connection that people are longing in this season versus a digital platform that they can link onto.
Yeah,
great.
That's really good.
How does your service looks like on Sunday? Because in Germany, it's not allowed anymore to record or to gather with volunteers. So we can just gather with staff. How do you record your services? Do you have worship? How does it look like?
Yeah, there's a couple of different things we've seen people do. And we're, again, with the thinking that this is permanent, not permanent, but more permanent than we thought it was. I mean, it's going to last probably, here in the US, it's at least until the end of April. I don't know what they're saying in Germany. And then you get to the end of April and you go, our world is going to be different no matter what people, church is the church, but our world's going to be different. Are people fearful to go outside? Do they want to gather? Do they not want to gather? What does that look like? So we don't know what that's going to be as we do that. So we're really kind of utilizing two strategies. What we do is we gather our team, staff, and we do a recorded message and worship. So it's, and then we release it live on Sunday. We found that was a little bit easier for us in the beginning because we don't, we're a brand new church. We don't have all the technology that some of these big churches have.
That's right. Yeah.
We didn't have a space to gather. So luckily we have.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah. Right. And so we were in an event center, and we're literally the only ones that go in the event center now that this is kind of in quarantine. So we have access to a building.
Okay, that's good.
But it's really been limited. And so we felt like, hey, let's record ahead of time. And if you've got some quality staff, what that does is allow you to edit a little bit better and make it a better experience than live streaming. I think when you go live streaming or like broadcast live stream, there's some additional investment that's needed to do that. And that's just not everybody's in that position, especially with finances being down. And so we're looking into that as a potential option as this becomes more and more a reality in the next couple months. And so we've got a team that's doing some research on what it would look like to actually physically live stream that on a Sunday versus record before the service. So we got worship. We stripped it down. It's probably a 40-minute service, 45-minute service. So a couple songs of worship, message, greeting, and we do a salvation call there, and then kind of go into worship at the end. And, it's kind of what everybody's doing, right?
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, well,
hear.
we have to for everybody was using like online stuff a little bit, but now it's like it's the only thing to do. I read today that imagine this happened 2005, without Facebook or YouTube or or social media. I mean, this would have been such a different scenario, so it's great in a way that we can do that still.
And think about it. Again, this is a very tragic thing, so I'm not making light of it, but when has there ever been a season in the history of our planet that the gospel is actually in more homes than ever before?
Yes,
it's just an amazing opportunity where you go, God's going to do something in this. And I think for us as a church, we're just trying to go, how do we get ready? How are we able to respond? And, we're blessed enough just being a young church that we had so much presence online and digitally, that we don't feel like we're scrambling. We feel like we're planning to build that online experience in that campus. So,
yeah. So what's some of the challenges? Like, I think every crisis kind of also brings unexpected problems with it. So what would you say the last few weeks, what gave you the biggest headaches, or, like what's the unexpected problems maybe that occurred over the last few days or weeks? Except of not watching FC Bayern Munich play football.
I know, right? They're not on. They're showing reruns over here. It's like, yeah. Isn't it? It's kind of crazy when you go, everything that we use to like occupy our minds and time has actually been pretty much stripped away. And you take for granted the normal things, your ability to, have voice and connection, your ability to touch, your ability to gather, and I just think, what the enemy's trying to do, and I think what God's going to do is help us refocus back on him. I think there's more and more people after you get out. I think the world kind of said, hey, this is temporary. This isn't going to be as bad as you think it's going to be. And now we're going, no, this is like a different reality. And I think that's what turns more and more people to Jesus in that process. I'd say we have similar challenges. I think probably the one that's really interesting for us right now is everything we did in terms of our leadership structure in our volunteer teams was geared towards a live service. And so we've got volunteers now and leaders now that they oversaw a team or a department that was maybe it was physically on a Sunday, and now that we're digital, we're trying to gather leaders. How do we have leaders oversee that digital experience differently than when we were in person? So that's become a challenge. Even our core team had different responsibilities, and we have a couple of core team members that are in the healthcare industry, so their world has been turned upside down. In fact, all their responsibilities, we had to remove them and put them to somebody else and kind of think through that. So we've had more kind of organizational structural challenges from Bianca and I's standpoint, is how do we do that? Okay. And then I think that the second thing I would say is a challenge is, planning for a crisis and planning for something long-term. And I think that's the tension we're in right now. I think we got by. Yeah. We just wanted to stabilize and get by. And now we're going, what if this is a different reality? And, we've all thought of church one way, and what if God is helping us think of church completely different? And how do you, and there's just so much unknown. Nobody's been in this situation before. So there's just so many unknowns. Yeah. We're trying to go like, is this the right decision? Is this the right decision? Is that the right decision? And the best thing you can do is just move forward the best you can with wisdom in the midst of that. And so we've just been, I think that's been kind of that tension for us. And I think too, you've got the connection and the physical touch of being with our team members. It's been challenging for us to kind of get a pulse on how people are doing. What are some of the needs? And where you could have connected with them on Sunday, we can't possibly connect with everybody, or at least I can't connect with everybody on our our database. But we're trying to go, how do we connect with people? And some people that were our key leaders are, everybody responds to a crisis differently. And so some people
that's right,
withdraw and are totally overwhelmed. Some people just go, hey, what can I do, and respond. And some people, they freeze. And I just think all of us are trying to figure out how to navigate this. And some people have a lot of anxiety, and some people are, and we just don't, how do we meet that need as a church when we physically can't meet them? They physically can't go anywhere. We're trying our best to connect them to digital resources in the midst of that. So those are some of the, probably similar to you guys, I can imagine.
Yeah. Just a question. Oh, sorry, Renke, go you.
No, it's okay. Just
reading a question of someone that I think a pastor in Renke City, Mark, talked about, like, how have you prepared your team for what comes afterwards? Like, have you had the discussion yet with your team of like looking, okay, what will happen when this is over?
We've started to, like, I think again, one of the things that I had the opportunity, unfortunately and probably positively, when Hurricane Katrina hit the United States back, I think it was like 2004, and then there's like a tsunami that hit. You learn a lot about disaster situations. You had a whole southern part of the United States that was kind of wiped out by a giant wave. And you had, I was on the ground floor of that, where churches were completely shut down. Houses were moved a mile down the road. Bodies were in cars. I mean, like it was just crazy, right? And you realize in a disaster situation, the best thing you can do is how do we get relief to our people and stabilize? So we've just focused on how do we stabilize what church looks like today, and how do we best love our people? Our people are hurting, they're fearful, they're questioning. We had our team of volunteers. We have roughly, 2,000 names in our database. They contacted every single person. And some people didn't even go to church anymore. And they're like, hey, thank you for reaching out. Nobody's reached out to me. And so, it's that relief.
Wow, that's great.
How do you get families the need, whatever it might be, whether it's, can we help with, rent? Can we help with food or groceries? And then really stabilize what you do as a church. I think we've done that. We're still assessing some of the needs, especially in the United States, where, the economic stimulus package is coming in. And so you've got, I know a handful of people in our church that their businesses were either restaurants or event-based, and they have no income. And so how do we love them as a church, and what does it look like to respond to them? So we're still doing some of that. We're on the front lines, doing food and coffee to the hospitals. We're doing food and coffee to the firefighters, the first responders. We're providing meals in the community. So we're really just trying to go like, how do we do that? And then now we're starting the conversation, especially it's been a little bit more limited to our core team. But with some of our people, that really is, what does it look like? Our biggest conversation right now is, what does it look like to create this permanent digital online experience for people, including the engagement, where I think we show stuff on YouTube, but to really have groups meeting digitally, to really have things happening digitally. Like, we're planning the best we can to say that's going to be a permanent experience for the Father's House, Orange County. Because you don't know what it's going to do. I mean, what's going to look like when you gather? Is it you have to stay 6 feet apart? Is everybody going to show up again?
Have a big group hug once this is over.
It's like invisible. High five, but you don't really high five. Is everybody going to? There's people.
Wi-Fi.
And there's still people at risk. Do they want to get out and do they want to gather? And I guess that's just. We don't know. So we're trying to deal with what we know and what we can kind of do, so we can create a great digital online campus. We don't know what it's going to look like when we gather back together. We don't know what changes. And so I think when we start to sense that, we'll start preparing our team and say, hey, we're going to gather. There could be 700 people. There could be 1,000 people. There could be 100 people. We don't know what's going to happen as we jump back in.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah. We think about the same way, what is after Corona, and like to have a digital campus, but we don't have any clue how this works. And it's good to learn from you. We will listen what you are doing. And so another question would be, how do you deal with financial issues in your church? Because I guess people don't give money so much anymore. And how do you reach to your people? Do you speak about this? Do you communicate to your people about giving in this time, or just leaving them alone and say, you have your own problems? So how do you do this with the financial problems in your church?
Yeah, and I can send you like a resource. We had a network of pastors put together a document that said, hey, here's kind of some things to think about and not to do financially, like when you're in this crisis. And so they're part of a church planning network, and that'd be great just to kind of have a resource that maybe you guys can make available. But what we've tried to do is the great thing for us is we're still moving along. We've of course been hit by it, but I think we planned a little bit conservatively. German roots, planning conservative, which is always great, right? My wife wants to spend all the money, and so she's like, let's do this, and I'm like, no, we've got a plan for these things, right?
Splash the cash.
So we've done a little bit of that, but I think the biggest thing is our messaging now is, hey, because of your generosity, and as you continue to be generous, look at what we get to do. We get to reach people digitally. We get to feed people in the community. We get to help families that lost income. We get to do these things because that's the church. And so that's the message we've really gone to, is saying, we get to do these things because of what you've done. Help us keep doing that. So we've never gone, hey, give us money or the lights are going to go off and we're never going to be a church again and we're going to completely die off. We haven't gone that route. You know, I know there's some stuff in the small business world that it possibly could help the church, at least in America, but I don't know what's happening in Germany with that. But we've just tried to focus as much as possible on what we're posting on social media, what we're posting on stories, doing in announcements on our service. Hey, and we try, and again, people love stories. They love stories of transformation, not information. And so we've tried to say, you know, share stories of what, hey, this group got to go to the hospitals, and man, they were so grateful. They couldn't believe it. We handed them out. They're watching online. They're watching the church as hospital workers. And so we want these stories of impact, you know, happening. And so we just say, hey, this is what we get to do because of what you guys have done in the past.
Perfect.
Yeah, sounds great. Really good. I've got maybe one or two questions, Matt, from online viewers on YouTube. Someone asked Max, do you guys have any idea, or Renke, you can answer to this as well. Do you guys have any idea how to deal with people who are not digital these days, which maybe rely on face-to-face meetings or fixed days? Is there any idea to reach out to these? I think that's a great question. So I don't know, Renke or Matt, what do you do to people that are not as digital apps and everything orientated as maybe we are pretend to be?
I mean, we try to see our database and that everybody gets a call. So this was the first what we did after the crisis starts, that we said, okay, we have to check our database and to call everybody and ask, how are you? Can we do anything for you? And so then you have in contact. But I don't know, Matt, if you have any further ideas. I don't know. We don't have many people, I think. They don't have any internet or stuff like this. I don't know.
And I think that's exactly right. I think that's part of what we did is we actually reached out, you know, just phone calls. We went back to it was old school church, right? You make phone calls. You show up at people's door 6 feet away. How's it going? Right. It's kind of interesting that, I mean, so much of what we've learned in the past that it actually, some of that's more effective because, you know, a phone call is just a different intentionality than a text message or a Zoom call or those kinds of things. And to pick up a phone and have a conversation, I think means a lot to a lot of people. The other thing we found is we had a couple of volunteers and leaders in the church that they weren't as, and they're on the younger side, but they just weren't used to like Zoom. They weren't used to like using these things. And so we said, you know, one of the things we're doing is, hey, let's sit down with them for an hour and show them how to use Zoom. Let's show them how to use FaceTime. Let's show them how to use some of these features that they might have, but they've never used before. And all of a sudden it's like, you know, I remember when FaceTime first came out and people were like, what is this? You know, and they're calling people and like, oh, I can see you. And it's like, and we were all there at one point in time, right? And so like,
I know
it's just how do we get back to that? And again, it's the church going, hey, can we help you digitally? Can we help you figure out Zoom? Can we do a Zoom class online?
Really good.
See how many people sign up. How to use FaceTime? You know, I mean, all of that kind of stuff you can do online, which is great. So
I think that's a really smart idea, you know, to offer like maybe even practical digital online courses. You know, I remember setting the iPad up for my grandmother and showing her, you know, how to use FaceTime, and it was like, it's a new world, isn't it? To if you're not exposed to that, it's like, wow, this is amazing. And it's actually, you can actually learn it. You know, I mean, it obviously is very complicated sometimes, but you know, to use FaceTime or Zoom is actually quite straightforward, and everybody can learn it within a few hours, I guess.
Well, and think about, and people have time on their hands, and they're wanting to do new things, things that they've never done before, and so like, why not learn a class? Why not do this? You know, kinds of things. So.
Very good. All right. I've got the last question for you, Matt. And it's about, I have to translate it now from German into English. So someone is making, having the experience at the moment that people are really difficult to motivate at the moment. And so not as many people participate at the moment in Zoom small groups and in Zoom team meetings as they would do when they used to meet physically. So how do you encourage your kind of team leaders to kind of keep pushing that church is still happening? And that is not a time to kind of, all right, let's sit down and enjoy some red wine from Orange County and do nothing.
Yeah, no, and that's
a very good thing to do.
Yeah, and you can do that while you're on a Zoom call, no problem.
That's right.
So you know, here's what I would say to that is that we've found that, for example, when we were doing Hangouts, which is on a Zoom platform, is that when people are text messaged and they're emailed and there's a phone call to remind them about it, they're more likely to get on. And so I think we're just kind of relying on one mechanism. Hey, everything moved to digital Zoom. Just do Zoom. And that doesn't negate still doing some of the same stuff you did before. Let's do a text message to everybody in the group. Hope to see you tonight. Here's a Zoom link, and they send a Zoom link on text message. Hey, here's a phone call. Just wanted to check in. How are you doing? Here's an email. How's it going? So we can't, I think one of the things that is teaching us is you can't rely on one mechanism of communication or one mechanism of gathering. And that's kind of led to us of saying, I think this was coming probably in the church world for a while, is, you know, all of us would track our church. Even you guys asked me, the first question is, how big is your church? You know, oh, it's this many gather on a Sunday. And we've kind of moved now, thinking wise, we were starting to, is what does it mean to measure engagement? And so it might be looking at, what are all the different ways that people can engage? Zoom call is certainly one of them. Giving is another one. Going out and serving is another one. You know, responding to a text message or a phone call. And so watching the video online, that's an engagement. And so I think all of those, you're going, the question maybe is not necessarily how do you get people to participate in what you want them to do, but how do you keep engagement high in the church at multiple levels of what you're doing? That's kind of, we're just starting to get our head around, what can we measure? What can we, you know, articulate to our people that, hey, this is how we're tracking that our community is still together. So
it's great. Yeah, very helpful. I think that's a great thought.
Yeah.
Amazing. So
how are you guys? I mean, I originally thought this was like, hey, we should just catch up, but you know, like now we're on this webinar. I feel like it's all official. I'm kind of nervous. I'm just kind of sweating here in Southern California. But so, how are you guys? What are you doing? Give me like a snapshot of what you guys are doing for church.
I think very similar. We have like streaming our Sunday service on Sunday. We're using the platform from Greg Rochelle, the online church, and it's amazing how many people are engaged and so many people watching. And it's the same, like you told us, and trying to reach people and helping them to be engaged with our church, with phone calls and Zoom meetings and next steps. So I think every church in the world has to do this now similar, and we can just learn from each other. And in Cologne, they do a great job. They help us a lot. They are amazing as well. So
yeah, it's journeying together, isn't it, now in this season?
Absolutely.
And it's good fun.
Yeah,
finally something is happening. You know,
at times
it's boring before.
Other times it's now there's more challenges for you. You know, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Some people that I know are commenting in the chat box from Cologne and
from
stuff.
Cologne. Yeah, that's good.
Yes. One of the things, there's a church in Las Vegas called City Lights Church. Jabin Chavez is the pastor, and one of the things they've done is kind of their growth track / kind of next steps is all digital via video. And so that's one of the things we're working on right now to upload, is that when people get connected, is they can go through some sort of online class. We had recorded those videos, and those are videos that you can put together. But that's a great resource that they're doing. And so that'll probably be a next step in the next couple of weeks for us, is that the next step digital class.
Yeah.
It's great.
Mhm.
Wow.
You've got some final red wine advice for this time when we are stuck at home. Many of you don't know this, but Matt actually is a sommelier. I don't know how you say that in English, but I don't know the French
That's
word,
correct.
I think.
That's correct.
I've heard of a red wine last week. I think it was from Orange County. Rancha what was the name? Capistrana or something? Capistrana? Ranch?
Yeah, it's usually an area. Yeah.
A winery or something. Is it any good?
It's probably okay.
Okay.
I haven't personally tried
what is
it,
your favorite wine at the moment that you're drinking?
but
Primitivo 2017, someone says.
there you go.
That's a good choice.
That is a great wine. That's the Zinfandel. We love that. That's great. I had a little bit of that last night with some barbecue.
Oof, come on.
So
nothing can stop a barbecue.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, right?
I know.
But that's the advantage. That's the advantage of Southern California. We don't have snow.
I know, you still have sunshine, eh? We are stuck in the cold, 5 degrees.
Oh no.
It's pray for us.
I will. I'll pray for you. That's I at least can go outside and walk around, and it's very nice out. So
great.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, Matt, for your time. I'm sure we do this again as we are now online for the rest of our lives. So thanks for your insights.
Absolutely. Love you guys. If there's anything hey, anybody that's online, email me if you want anything we're doing or like resources. We'd love to help. And anything we have is yours. It's free. We'll help in any way that we can. We just want to see churches continue and bless the kingdom and let the gospel just expand. So my email is, I think you guys have, I'll put it in the chat box if they want it, but if they want to reach out, that's great.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Matt. Say hi to Bianca and
to your dog.
We're looking forward
our dog. Yeah. She's actually on a video conference with TBN and Christine Kane and all them. And so she's downstairs. I'm upstairs. I think she has the dog in her lap though. That's her.
Okay. Thank you.
Love you guys. Pray for you guys.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay.
Denk und ich bleiben, glaube ich, noch ein paar Minuten hier, oder?
Ja, genau.
Ja, Hammer. Ey, Freunde, wir haben noch ein paar mehr Fragen, glaube ich, die wir noch nicht beantwortet haben. Wir versuchen noch ein paar davon mit reinzunehmen. Renke, direkt an dich. What are you tracking at the moment? Also, was messt ihr im Moment? Was für Zahlen? Genau.
Ja, ich glaube, das ist genau das gleiche wie vorher. Ne? Also es ist jetzt kein großer Unterschied. Wir zählen die Gottesdienstbesucher. Das ist halt ein bisschen spannend, weil jetzt kann jeder abschalten, wie er Bock hat, wenn er zugeschaltet hat. Wenn er im Raum sitzt, gehst du nicht einfach raus.
Wenn er einmal sitzt, dann sitzt er, ne? Sonst.
Ja, genau. Wenn die Predigt langweilig ist, bleibst du halt sitzen. Ne? Und jetzt kannst du einfach sagen, komm, ich schalte rüber zum Dom oder schalte rüber zu wem auch immer. Aber wir zählen schon, also wir gucken, Church Online und auch YouTube zeigt einem relativ gute Zahlen und uns ist extrem wichtig zu schauen bei diesen Zahlen, wie lange waren die Leute drin und wann haben sie eingeschaltet und wann wieder ausgeschaltet, um auch ein bisschen zu sehen, wie gut sind unsere Gottesdienste und was können wir einfach verbessern. Dann natürlich, wie viele Leute haben wir erreicht über Telefonate, über Kontakte, das ist uns extrem wichtig. Und haben Leute sich in ihren Small Groups, in ihren Family Groups getroffen. Ne? Und Entscheidungen, klar, voll. Entscheidungen und Finanzen. Das Thema hatten wir eben auch. Wir haben gerade umgeschaltet dass wir nicht mehr monatlich uns einen Report machen, wo wir finanziell stehen, sondern wöchentlich, weil wir einfach keine Lust haben, dass irgendwie Spender, die, keine Ahnung, ihr Business verloren haben oder ihren Job verloren haben, auf einmal wegbrechen. Wir merken es nicht und können auf einmal keine Mieten oder Personal mehr bezahlen. Bei Finanzen sind wir gerade sehr sensibel und versuchen sehr, sehr genau reinzuschauen. Ja.
Cool.
Ja.
Sehr gut. Und noch eine weitere Frage hier. Ich übersetze sie mal eben auf Deutsch. Also wenn jetzt diese Phase vorbei ist und Church Online ist eine große Plattform geworden, wo viel passiert, glaubst du, dass Leute das bevorzugen werden aus Komfort, anstatt wirklich in die Kirche zu gehen und einfach sagen, ach, ich bleibe jetzt einfach online? Das
Ja.
ist, glaube ich, so die Frage, die hier
Ja,
kam.
die Diskussion haben wir gerade intern, wo wir darüber diskutieren, macht es eigentlich Sinn, das so zu pushen, auch nach dieser Zeit, weil wir ja Leute einfach auch in Gemeinschaft, physikalische Gemeinschaft bringen wollen. Aber ich glaube, es liegt ein bisschen daran, wie wir kommunizieren. Erstens glaube ich, Leute haben immer Bock,
Ja.
sich zu sehen in einem Raum. Also sich zu umarmen
Schon, ne?
und sich zu spüren und live dabei zu sein, gehe ich 100% von aus. Es wird immer Leute gehen, die auf dem Sofa lieber sitzen bleiben wollen, aber denen können wir halt dann auch in dem Fall nicht helfen oder nicht so helfen. Aber ich glaube, dass es auch eine Menge Leute gibt, die einfach im Schichtdienst sind, eine Menge Leute gibt, die aus gesundheitlichen Gründen nicht zum Gottesdienst kommen können.
Ja,
Und da haben wir
ja.
einen riesen Dienst. Und wir merken es ja jetzt, dass wir zu so vielen Wohnzimmern kommen, wo wir vorher nicht
Ja,
hingekommen
Wahnsinn,
sind.
ne?
Also macht es überhaupt keinen Sinn, das wieder aufzuhören. Wenn wir die Finanzen
Ja.
dafür haben und die Zeit und Kraft haben, hey, lass uns das unbedingt weitermachen. Und wir werden
Ja.
in jedem Telefonat, in jedem Follow-up immer die Leute motivieren, zu einer lokalen Kirche zu gehen, egal wo sie sind.
Voll, ne?
Und wenn sie in einer anderen Stadt leben und es zu weit weg ist, dann suchen wir für sie halt eine Kirche da. Ne?
Ja,
Ja.
voll. Ja, glaube ich auch.
Mhm.
Dass das nie wegfällt, ey, sonst wird es ganz traurig hier, glaube ich, wenn wir uns nicht mehr sehen. Also ich habe jetzt schon Entzugsentscheidungen,
Ja.
weil ich irgendwie die Nähe vermisse zu den Leuten.
Voll. Allein im Office. Ja.
Ja, das ist ganz schlimm. Wie sieht's aus mit Ostern? Macht ihr irgendwas Besonderes? Steht jetzt
Ja,
vor der
das-
Tür. Wir haben jetzt Palm Sunday und Easter Sunday. Was passiert da digital in der Kirche im Pott?
Das ist halt gerade ein bisschen spannend, ne? Weil, das wollte ich gerade eben auch den Matt fragen, das hatte ich aber vergessen, und zu fragen, wie sie es machen. Ich meine, letztendlich können wir nur das machen, was wir machen können. Wir können eine Predigt aufnehmen, wir können das, was wir dürfen, gerade an Worship aufnehmen und können jetzt gerade keinen großen Handstand machen. Wir wollen eigentlich taufen.
Yes, wir hatten auch, ey, oh Mann,
Ja,
das ist schon echt bitter, ne?
kann man jetzt eine Taufanleitung schicken, wie man sich in der Badewanne selber taufen kann. Ich
Selber
glaube,
tauft.
theologisch nicht so ganz. Aber über Zoom. Dann kann es einen Begleiter geben, der die.
Du kannst ja die Hand so dahin halten.
Einsetzungsworte
In the
sagt.
name of Jesus, I baptize you.
Ja, genau. Aber ja, also einfach, ja klar, wir predigen Hoffnung, ne? Und wir predigen Worship machen. Mehr können wir im Moment auch nicht machen. Wer hier eine andere Idee hat, wie man Ostern noch spezieller
Ja,
machen
come on, lass uns mal irgendwie was
kann,
Neues
ne?
machen.
Also, genau.
Also was man auf jeden Fall machen könnte, wäre ein Live-Schauspiel über Zoom. Und
Das will ich sehen.
du bist Jesus und ich bin der Engel. Und dann laden wir noch jemanden ein, der Mary ist oder so. Und dann spielen wir das einfach live nach.
Ja, Wahnsinn.
Ja, das ist nicht so eine tolle Idee, ne? Aber
Ja, hier schreibt einer, dass sie online ein Abendmahl feiern. Ich glaube, das ist was
ach,
wir
cool.
vielleicht
Ja, das haben wir am Mittwoch jetzt vor.
machen. Das wäre bestimmt richtig cool. Ja, das ist der Hammer.
Ja.
Ich glaube, ja, wir haben noch ein paar Themen, die wir vielleicht auch in den nächsten Wochen noch besprechen werden. Wir haben noch Gäste in den nächsten Wochen, ne? Die wir einladen werden und das hier nochmal machen.
Voll.
Und finde es mega für alle, die da zugeschaut haben jetzt.
Yes.
Wir haben auch nicht alle Ahnung. Wir sind auch nur gerade dabei auszuprobieren. Wir wollen von euch lernen. Das heißt,
Ja,
schreibt
voll.
uns bitte, wenn ihr Ideen habt, wie man
Ja.
Dinge noch besser machen kann. Ich glaube, im Moment ist es einfach so, Gottesdienste streamen, wenn du es nicht machen kannst, ist nicht schlimm, dann verlink dich auf irgendeine andere gute Kirche, mit der du befreundet bist. Versuch über Zoom zu arbeiten, Hangout zu machen. Und ja, lasst uns viel beten, vor allen Dingen für unsere Menschen und an den Menschen dran sein. Ne? Genau.
Yes.
Nächste Woche werden wir jemanden interviewen und werden euch dann wieder über Social Media bekannt geben. Und finden es mega, dass ihr heute Abend dabei wart. Hoffen, dass es gut war für euch und euch geholfen hat. Und schaltet wieder an bei Let's Grab a Coffee. Jetzt am 1. April kommt eine neue Folge raus, die wir schon vorher recorded haben.
Kein Aprilscherz.
Kein Aprilscherz. Wen haben wir da interviewt, Dom? Was kommt am 1.
Jetzt
raus?
am 1. Boah, das ist eine gute Frage, ne? Wir machen mal 4 an einem Abend, ne? Welcher kommt denn jetzt?
Ich weiß es nicht genau. Mit Sicherheit was mit Konstantin.
Es wird richtig gut, Freunde. Es wird Wahnsinn. Konstantin und Stefan schreibt hier jemand rein. Okay.
Ja, genau. Sehr gut.
Ja, das wird doch großartig.
Bestimmt zum Thema Freundschaft. Das wird
Hammer. Cool, mit euch gemeinsam unterwegs zu sein. Habt einen genialen Abend. Schreibt uns weitere Fragen oder Ideen. Wir machen das jeden Montag jetzt. Mal gucken, wie lange. Aber wir finden es hilfreich, zusammen im Gespräch zu bleiben. Bis dahin. Kölle Alaf.